1919. Germany was a nation on its knees, humiliated by the Treaty of Versailles, which planted the seeds for the next Great War. Out of this despair, a failed painter from Austria rose, promising a broken people a glorious new empire. Adolf Hitler didn't take power by force, he seized it with words. He gave Germans an enemy to blame and promised to tear up the treaty. By 1933, the Nazi machine had total control. The world watched as Hitler tested the waters. He marched into the Rhineland, then swallowed Austria. The League of Nations protested but did nothing. Appeasement had begun. In Munich, Britain and France thought they'd bought peace by giving away part of Czechoslovakia. They were wrong. Then, the ultimate betrayal. Hitler and his bitter enemy, Stalin, signed a secret pact to divide Poland. On September 1, 1939, the Blitzkrieg began. 2 days later, Britain and France declared war. The world was plunged into a darkness that would claim 60 million lives. 1919. The Treaty of Versailles didn't just end a war, it humiliated a nation. Germany was crippled by debt and stripped of its pride. From this chaos, Adolf Hitler emerged. He didn't just promise bread and work, he promised revenge. He promised to restore German honor and reclaim its place in the world. By 1933, the Nazi Party had systematically dismantled democracy, turning a struggling republic into a formidable war machine. Their goal was brutally clear: Lebensraum, living space in the East. The gears of conflict were already beginning to turn, oiled by resentment and fueled by a totalitarian ideology that saw conquest as destiny. The world watched, but for now, it did not act. Hitler then began a dangerous game of diplomatic poker, testing the resolve of Europe's powers with each move. In 1936, he marched his troops into the demilitarized Rhineland, a blatant violation of international law. He waited for a reaction. None came. The world's silence emboldened him. In 1938, he annexed Austria in the Anschluss, uniting the two German-speaking nations under his rule. Again, the world stayed silent. Britain and France, desperate to avoid another catastrophic conflict, pursued a policy of appeasement. They hoped that giving Hitler what he wanted would satisfy his ambitions and prevent another great war. But for Hitler, every concession was not a step towards peace. It was a green light for more aggression. The Munich Agreement was hailed as peace for our time, but it was merely a delay of the inevitable. August 1939. In a move that stunned the entire world, the ultimate paradox became reality. Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, bitter ideological enemies who had spent years denouncing each other, signed a non-aggression pact. This cynical alliance was a masterpiece of realpolitik. But hidden within its clauses was a secret protocol, a dark agreement to carve up Poland and the rest of Eastern Europe between them. Hitler now had a clear path. With his eastern flank secured by his pact with Stalin, he no longer feared a two-front war. The stage was set for the first devastating strike of the Blitzkrieg. The final piece of the puzzle had fallen into place. September 1st, 1939. At dawn, German shells fell on Poland. The dreaded sound of Stuka dive bombers echoed across the sky. This wasn't just a border dispute, it was the start of total war, executed with terrifying speed and brutality. 2 days later, the ultimatums issued by Britain and France expired unanswered. War was declared. The world had failed to stop a tyrant in his tracks. And now, humanity would pay the ultimate price in the bloodiest and most destructive conflict in its history. The countdown to catastrophe was over.